What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh. This is Overlanding Now, and this weekend I'm back in the garage first and foremost, and it's so nice to have my home workshop completely cleaned out. I was having my house resided, and everyone's tools was in my garage for what seemed like an eternity. So I'm glad to have my space back, and I cleaned my garage Friday night. Saturday morning, the first thing I was out here doing was figuring out a way that I could put an auxiliary battery inside the Subaru Outback Wilderness so I no longer have to carry any portable power stations. Now, in my last video, I was talking about the EB3A from Blue Eddy, and I will put that link up here, and that was my backup power inside the Subaru Outback Wilderness. Well, I still have the EB3A, and it's still something that I take with me just because I'm a bit paranoid. But this video is going to be about how I wired everything from the front of the car to the back of the car, the components that I used, and how you can add an additional auxiliary battery to your Subaru Outback Wilderness if in fact you feel you need additional onboard power. So that is going to be the premise of everything we speak about today. Stay tuned. All right, so if you guys are new here and this is the first time stopping by the channel, I'd like to say welcome and thank you for stopping by the channel. We do things like this on a regular basis, and we also do a lot of remote adventure travel. We have a Ram Power Wagon that we're currently building. We have the Subaru Outback Wilderness that is, I'm gonna say, pretty close to done. And then it's just adventure time, storm chase time for the Outback Wilderness. And then we have something else coming that I'm not going to share, but that's the kind of stuff that we do. And if you're interested in that, we would love to have you come along and be a subscriber and come along for the adventures as we take them. And if you're on Instagram, I will also put our Instagram right here so you can follow us there if you're into that. And then I will also put our photography-based Instagram. We do a lot of adventure photography, overlanding photography, storm chasing photography, landscape photography, and I'll put that right here as well. If you want to join us there, we'd love to have you. Again, thank you for stopping by, and if you've been here for a long time, you're the GOAT, and I really appreciate you. Anyways, so auxiliary batteries. This is something I've been toying with for a while. Obviously, if you're familiar with the channel at all, you know the Ram Power Wagon has a complete lithium battery bank built into the custom drawer system that I built for that vehicle. I will link that video up there if you're interested in how a big old drawer system is built with onboard water and lithium batteries. But that was something I did in that vehicle because that vehicle specifically is for the family long-range adventure travel. Not that the Subaru Outback Wilderness cannot do those same things, but the Subaru does not have the space, the payload, or the comfort of the Ram Power Wagon, but it's also far less expensive and gas is a lot cheaper. So you have to weigh those options. But we did that in the Power Wagon, and I knew I was going to do something for this vehicle. I just didn't know what it was going to be. So luckily for me, my buddy Matt has done something pretty much exactly the same, and he was able to give me pointers on exactly what it is that I should do for the Subaru Outback Wilderness. So that's what we went with. I took his advice because he is so much more mechanically inclined than I will ever be in my entire life. And he runs his refrigerator full-time off of his backup battery. He literally keeps his refrigerator plugged in 365 days a year, and he's never had issues with his main battery dying. So let's start there. I think that's the place that everyone probably has the first questions with, and then we will talk from the battery all the way to the back of the vehicle. The batteries we went with were Duralast Platinum AGM batteries. And I say batteries because when I was talking about this whole idea and what I wanted to do with Matt, he said that you want to make sure your batteries are as similar to each other as possible. They don't have to be the exact same, but I did not want to have any margin of error there. So I got two Duralast Platinum AGM batteries. I bought a new one for the front, and then I put the other one in the rear wheel well of the Subaru Outback Wilderness. So that's where my two batteries are placed. Now, when you go to purchase batteries for your Subaru and you go into an AutoZone or an Advanced Auto Parts, whatever your preferred auto parts store is, there's only going to be specific batteries that fit for your vehicle. So one that you may have your eye on may not fit for your vehicle, so it's something you want to check. But these batteries do fit perfectly. The only issue is you have to remove your battery tray, not the battery tray, you have to remove the padding that goes around your battery. There's a little bit of modification there, but it took me about 2 seconds just to get everything out of the way, and I was able to sit that Duralast battery inside the original battery location underneath the hood of the Subaru Outback Wilderness. So once I had the batteries figured out, I knew that these were very close, or these two were the exact same chemistry. So I wasn't going to have any issues. Now, when you run an isolator switch, which is what we've done here, the isolator switch that we use was a keyline isolator switch. So what that does is it pulls power from your main battery, which is being charged off your alternator, and sends it from the main battery to the auxiliary battery in the rear of the vehicle. So as this battery charges, once it gets to a certain threshold of voltage, it'll send charge back to your backup battery in the rear. And that's all done through a keyline isolator switch. So that isolator switch is what controls all of the power going back and forth, as well as the cutoff voltage. So the cutoff voltage is, I believe, 12.6 volts. It will stop charging that rear battery and focus on charging your primary battery. There are a lot of really expensive options out there for isolator switches and dual battery setups, and I'm sure there is a lot more technical videos with more technical information about how they work, but this is what I needed to do, and this is probably what most people need to do. I needed a secondary battery, so I no longer had to worry about keeping my Blue Eddy EB3A charged and taken with me, that I can have in my vehicle that is always charging when I'm driving the vehicle. That way I can charge any components that I want, as well as keep my refrigerator running all the time if I want to. Some people may ask, do you really travel with a refrigerator every day? Yes, I do. It's just nice to have. If you go to the grocery store and you're not going to make it home right away, especially in the summertime, you can just keep your cold groceries in there and you can continue on about your day. Because I have the Spec C rear suspension from Ironman, having additional weight inside my vehicle on a regular basis is not a big deal. Now back to the batteries. So that first battery is sending power to your secondary battery. All of that power is being drawn from your alternator. So in between your isolator and your main battery, I put a 40 amp weatherproof breaker. That's in the event that there is any type of erroneous surge from the primary battery heading back. It will flip that breaker, stop the isolator from working, and it will not damage the rear battery or any of the components that happen to be attached to the rear battery at that time. That may sound complicated, but it's very simple. You have a power wire going from your battery to your breaker. From your breaker, you have a power wire, a short power wire going to your isolator. Then you have a long power wire going from your isolator all the way to the back. That's it. There are no additional components. The one thing I want to mention is if you are running anything off of your primary battery that's going to be charging off of your alternator, you're going to be putting additional stress on your alternator. It is not the end of the world. You do not need to run and buy a new alternator today, but you need to keep in mind at some point, if you're working a component harder and harder and harder, the likelihood of it dying sooner is inevitable. So as you're thinking about this, just know in the back of your mind that if your alternator would have lasted you 5, 6, or 7 years, it may be 4, 5, or 6 years. I don't really know the math. I'm guessing. I'm just disclaimer for you guys that it is going to draw more power and your alternator is going to work harder on a daily basis. So now I needed to get the power from the front battery all the way to the back. If you have not watched the video on how to install or run wires from the engine compartment all the way to the back or just to the inside of your vehicle, I'll put that video there so you guys can check in on that and get an idea of how I run wires. I'm sure there's more than one way, but how I chose to run wires into the Subaru Outback Wilderness. And then I just took them straight to the back. So if you watch that video, I took all the power straight to the back. That's really, I've pop plastic pieces off and run it with the main wire harness. It's not that difficult. It's just time consuming and it's something that you have to do. So now that I got the power back, what I have in my rear wheel well already was a small toolbox that had my compressor mounted to it. So I wanted to try to use something different. I have a front runner, Lord, I almost lost that one there. I have a front runner box that I've used in the past for a lithium battery bank that my buddy and I had built that we took on our trip out west when we had the teardrop with us. So we had the teardrop with the steel tongue box, and I put this big lithium battery bank in the front runner box, and it ran my refrigerator the entire trip. So I had this box because I had gotten rid of the lithium batteries, but I needed to figure out a way that I could house all of this stuff inside one space. So I pulled out the front runner box, took the lid off, and I started seeing what I could do. The nice part is if you have your spare tire stuff inside your rear wheel well now, it has a screw or a bolt that has a handle on it. I took that out, and there's a kind of a hump in the bottom of my wheel well. Well, with that front runner box, I set it down and I just drilled a hole, a 2-inch hole saw, directly through that front runner box, and I was able to sit that front runner box flush in the back of the Subaru Outback Wilderness. Then what I did was I took a 2-inch nylon spacer, set it on top, ran the screw back through, tightened it up, and now it holds that box steady. So now I'm able to have my air compressor, my secondary battery, as well as the fuse panel for the switches that I have that we will get to in a minute. Everything is contained in that box, and I was able to wire everything through that box. I made some cuts in it, ran some wires in different places, and was able to get everything successfully mounted. And honestly, it's a perfect setup. I put the lid back on it. I can stuff things around it. I don't have to worry about it hitting the battery or hitting the compressor. It all worked out really well, and it turned out to be a really awesome install. So then, now I have this battery in the back. Well, I have to get power from the battery to the various components. And all that I added to this was an on-off switch. I added a voltmeter, so I know how many volts the battery has in it. I also added a 12-volt cigarette lighter outlet for the refrigerator to run off of, and then another outlet for a USB-C and a USB-C. So that way I could charge additional devices while everything's back there, and I was able to install those pretty cleanly. It's hard to cut plastic in a circle and you can't really, you could take the plastic out, but I didn't want to mess with trying to take that plastic out. So I was in there with the razor knife trying to make the circles the best I could. But once I put the switches in, everything was pretty well covered up. Now to get power from those switches, I have a small 6-gang fuse box. I just happen to have that laying around. Obviously, I don't need all 6 outputs on that fuse box, but I had that fuse box laying around, so I was like, well, let's just wire the power and ground from the battery to the fuse box, which is what I did. And then I daisy chained all of my different components together. So I have the switch is number 1, I can turn it off and it turns off the rest of them. Then I have my voltmeter is number 2 in line. After that, I have my 12-volt cigarette plug, and then after that, I have my USB and my USB-C plug. So all of that is daisy chained together, running off of a 15-amp breaker coming out of the breaker box. So if that sounds crazy, it's really easy. A power and a ground to the breaker box. Then from the breaker box, after you put your 15-amp fuse, you run another power and a ground to your first chain on your switch, and then off your switch, a power and a ground, and you just keep doing that all the way down the line. Now, if I were to use anything additional, or I was going to be charging anything more than what I intend to use this for, then I would have used multiple circuits on that breaker, and I would have broken it up. But it's a very small amount of power that's being drawn, even if I'm charging everything at once for a long period of time. The only thing I do have a concern with at some point is if I am charging a lot, the wires will get hot. But now that the front runner box is in the rear, everything is clean back there and everything is set up. Getting the isolator switch back was probably the hardest part, and then it was just about how do I want to run all of my components. My compressor is running off of my crank battery. So that is already ran to my crank battery. I did not want to mess with that and put it on the secondary battery, just because if the secondary battery does die and my crank battery works and I need to pump up my tires, I can't do so. So I left the compressor there, but I was able to get the compressor mounted, the battery pack situated and located where I want it, as well as the fuse box, put a lid on it. It can't be touched. Nothing can get in the way of it. And it is an absolute seamless situation. Now, the whole process took me about 6 hours. And most of that was just prep work. I had to prep the wires to get everything cut, and then cutting the wires, using the crimpers, getting the ends crimped on, getting out the heat gun, and it's just, all of that takes time. And then the cleanup process, obviously. I wanted my garage back to how beautiful it was prior to me starting this project. But it's a very simple way for you guys to install auxiliary battery inside any vehicle. It doesn't matter what vehicle it is. This same exact system can be used for any vehicle on the market, and it's a way for you to have additional power. If you don't feel overly comfortable with any type of electrical work inside your vehicle, I would encourage you to watch YouTube. That's all I've ever done, is watch YouTube and make mistakes, and then you figure it out. So that's what I would recommend. If you guys have any questions about the exact components that I've used, I will put every single thing I used in the description. If you have further questions, please leave those in the comments, because I will be happy to answer those for you and give you the best advice I can. I'm sure this is not absolutely 100% perfect, but it is perfect in my eyes, and somebody will tell me that it's not perfect, and that's okay. But that's it. That's my weekend. That's what I did this weekend, and it's ready to go. I have my refrigerator plugged in right now, and it's ready to hit the road. So now I do not need to bring my auxiliary battery or my Blue Eddy EB3A if I do not want to, even though I probably will anyways. It's nice to have a complete onboard power station that I never have to worry about is charging off my main battery, and that's always ready for me to use it. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming along. I tried to make this short-winded, and I'm going to end it here. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you on the next one.